Chapter 9, The Fifth Columnist. The Iga school of ninjutsu, according to Okusei, trained its ninja in Tin-to-iri tactics, laying the groundwork before the war broke out. The ninja was expected to succeed in invading enemy territory to set up a spy ring and ready other strategy in line with the impending conflict. The first of these tactics was called Katsura Otoko no Jitsu, based on an old Chinese tale about a man and the moon. A ninja operating in enemy territory was called Katsura Otoko because he was almost as isolated as if he were living on the moon. He invariably cultivated a person known as a chitsumishi, who acted as a supporter for the ninja and allowed his house or shop to be used as a base of operations for the Katsura Otoko ninja. There is the case of one far-sighted ninja who retained a young married couple and their family living in enemy territory, helping to support them and acting as their patron. 10 years later, the investment paid off when the ninja asked the parents to offer their pretty 15-year-old daughter to the enemy warlord. Needless to say, she served as a female ninja spy for him. The second To-iri tactic, Joei no Jitsu, was the dispatch of ninja to enemy territory when hostilities were about to break out. When a region was in the grip of an emergency, it was easier to secure a position. The army was beefed up, more people were needed to do the work involved in launching a war, and since manpower needs were urgent, not too much time was spent investigating the background of applicants. It was all a matter of proper timing for the ninja fifth column to move into enemy territory without creating suspicion. Utilizing women and turning them into effective female ninja agents was called kunoichi no jitsu. These Mataharis received the same rigorous training as their male counterparts in tactics and strategy. If they were to penetrate the court, they were taught the necessary manners in courtly speech, much as Eliza Doolittle was transformed into a fair lady by Professor Higgins in George Bernard Shaw's Pygmalion. The most beautiful female ninja were earmarked as paramours for enemy warlords. Their objective would either be to pump them for vital information or even assassinate them, if necessary, by stabbing them with their dirks or daggers or their trusty needle-sharp hairpins. Most kunoichi were taught how to handle ninja weapons, but if worse came to worse, and the female ninja were caught without a weapon, she could momentarily startle her attacker by baring her breasts. If he managed to grab her, she could always crack him against the ears with both hands at the same time and thus break his eardrums. She often took the easy way out by hitting him in his most vulnerable spot, bringing up a sharp knee thrust to the crotch. Why not? There were occasions when the ninja had use of common people living and working in enemy territory. Termed Satobito no Jitsu. In this tactic, the ninja ferreted out some commoner or merchant angry with his lord, or with an overweening ambition for success and fame, or an ungovernable desire to acquire wealth. Disgruntled and ambitious citizens have long been obvious targets for secret agents and are still near the top of the list today. The fifth To-iri tactic, Minomushi no Jitsu, means a worm in the body. This concept resembles somewhat the Western principle that one bad apple can destroy a whole barrel of good apples. The aim was to make enemy subjects, or the retainers of an enemy lord, the worms in the body by recruiting them into an espionage network and enticing them to betray their own lord. The higher the rank, the more valuable he was to the network. Hotarubi no Jitsu, or firefly glimmer, was a tactic in which a ninja passed through enemy territory carrying a false, confidential message. He allowed himself to be captured so that the message would be discovered and thus mislead the enemy. Another tactic, sounding like a plot for a Hollywood spy film, was called Fukuro Gaeshi no Jitsu. A ninja would pretend to betray his own lord and manage to escape. After making his way to the enemy lord, who had meanwhile learned of his betrayal, the turncoat ninja attempted to gain his trust and serve him as a ninja agent. He might perform some daring or courageous deed to win his confidence. When the battle reached a crisis, the double agent suddenly betrayed the enemy lord and returned to the Allied camp. It was a dangerous mission, needless to say, for one false move on his part could mean instant death for the ninja. Christopher Plummer, in the movie Triple Cross, a film story that was based on a real experience, served the British and Germany during the war as a double agent. In a variation of this tactic, and one that occurred in the film, the enemy lord could take advantage of the ninja's familiarity with his own home territory by sending him back there as a spy or to carry out an act of sabotage. Consequently, the double agent ninja could not be well known in his homeland. To keep up the deception, he would send back some true but trifling information as well as some important but misleading secrets that were all but impossible to double check. At the same time, he kept his own allied lord up to date on any information he was able to learn through his communications with the enemy lord. If he were finally able to learn that the enemy was about to attack, plus when and where, he passed the secrets on to his lord and gave up his role as a double agent when the battle began. A twist of the previous tactic was Tensui no Jitsu, or spitting at the heavens. In this case, the enemy ninja was the spittle. Once he had been detected, he was provided with harmless bits of intelligence as well as false information. Then, by offering him a better reward, the allied lord persuaded the enemy ninja to swap sides and join the allies. No overt change was made so that the enemy continued to trust him as one of its own agents. The principle of the relaxed bow, Chikyu no Jitsu, symbolized the ninja as a bow with a bow. The principle of the relaxed bow, Chikyu no Jitsu, symbolized the ninja as a bow with a loosened string, waiting for the day to be restrung and ready for action again. This tactic was used when an allied ninja was captured. Pretending to betray his lord and accepting the offer of the enemy lord to serve as his agent, the captured ninja bided his time until he saw an opportunity to rejoin his own side. Of course, not all captured ninja were given this chance by the enemy lord. Some were imprisoned or put to death. Come in. Hey, excuse me. Hello. Shelby. 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 Come on, in. You're interrupting the reading, darling. I'm going to close the door. 3, 2, 1. Are you coming? No. Sorry. Cat interruption. It's the most important type of interruption, so it is acceptable. Delayed action. The 10th and final Toiri tactic cited by Okusei and used in laying the groundwork before fighting broke out was called Yamabiko no Jitsu. The ninja acted as an echo, or more exactly, like a delayed action bomb, since his mission was to wait for a signal from his lord before taking action in the enemy camp. He quit his own camp, pretending to be on bad terms with his lord. After seeking out the enemy camp, he gained the good graces of the enemy lord and served him faithfully without once giving cause for suspicion. Meanwhile, his own lord gave the signal to assassinate the enemy lord or to take some other pre-arranged action, and the ninja promptly responded. The ninja might be a bonfire at night, or the signal might be a bonfire at night on a distant hill, or the dispatch of another ninja to the enemy camp to pass on the signal, or it could be a brief coded message left at a predetermined place. The second of the general category of ninjutsu espionage tactics, Chikairi no Jitsu, was concerned with the infiltration of enemy lines during a battle. In such cases, the ninja acted as a role in a role similar to that of the famed British commandos of World War II or the Green Berets of the Vietnam War, sneaking behind enemy lines to disrupt his position in guerrilla like tactics. Okuse mentions 8 strategies for certain victory. In Ryakuon no Jitsu, the ninja slipped into enemy territory and pretended to be a friend and comrade. However, he had to be already acquainted with key enemy leaders, know the location of enemy houses, and possess an intimate knowledge of enemy organization and other data. Once accepted by them as a fellow warrior, he applied tactics known as Geinyu no Jitsu. This meant discovering the moves of the enemy and taking appropriate counteractions such as demagoguery, haranguing malcontents, and incendiarism, or setting fire to enemy structures. When the enemy forces marched out of their stronghold toward a village, the ninja raced ahead of them to spread panic and confusion among the villagers and thus create an opportunity for stealing the enemy's horses, weapons, or food. And also set false rumors afloat and supplied false information to turn the enemy upon himself and cause dissension in the ranks. Another effective tactic was to take advantage of the enemy's absence from his camp. Another effective tactic was to take advantage of the enemy's absence from his camp. Katagatae no Jitsu. When the enemy left for a night attack, the ninja slipped into the nearly deserted camp to spy and spread confusion by setting fire to important buildings, powder dumps, armories, warehouses, etc., and also alerted the Allied forces for a counterattack against the poorly defended camp. In some cases, the ninja hid along the castle wall until an Allied attack was launched against the castle at another point. When the defenders rushed to the assaulted part of the castle away from where the ninja was hiding, he took that opportunity to throw his grappling hook atop the wall and quickly pull himself up with his rope. Once inside, he set fires and created as much panic and confusion as possible. Master of Disguises. Utilizing a tactic known as Yoja no Jitsu, the ninja assumed the appearance of a weak creature to penetrate the enemy's defenses. In other words, he disguised himself as a beggar, a cripple, a madman, a blind man, or a deaf mute, and stumbled into the enemy camp as part of a rabble or tagged after merchants. Creating a diversion was also included among the ninja tactics listed by Okuse, called Sei Getsu no Jitsu, or moon in the water, and meant getting the enemy to fall for a trick. A small part of the Allied force would be moved nearer to enemy lines as a diversion to draw the enemy's attention and cover the ninja sneaking into his camp to cause havoc. Of course, diversionary tactics have been employed in battles since ancient times. The Japanese in World War II unsuccessfully made a diversionary attack against the Aleutians to draw attention away from their main thrust at Midway Island. But later in the Philippine campaign, the Japanese used empty aircraft carriers to draw away Admiral Bulholzey's main naval forces, while they launched their primary assault against virtually defenseless transports, unloading men and supplies off the beaches in Leyte Gulf. Halsey fell for the bait, but a major U.S. disaster was averted by a gallant defense by a handful of U.S. converted carriers and destroyer escorts, plus Japanese timidity at the moment of truth. A tactic termed Tanairi no Jitsu was based on the same principle as Yamabiko no Jitsu, mountain echo. The only difference was that a ninja team, rather than an individual ninja, pretended to betray its lord and switched sides. Then, at a signal from its own lord, the team moved into action. In Ryohan no Jitsu, the ninja would capture an important official and use him as a hostage. Then, the enemy would be threatened. Unless he acted according to instructions, the hostage would be killed. The higher the kidnapped victim's rank, the better. The eighth and last Chikairi no Jitsu tactic used after the start of the battle was Fukuro Gaeshi Zenjitsu, According to Okusei, ninja, discovering that a relative of an enemy lord belonged to a distant clan, gave the relative a false message from the enemy lord and then promised to carry the reply back to the lord personally. The ninja, of course, had no such intentions. He read the reply, then composed a false letter to the enemy lord. The ninja thus read the actual letters by both sides, but always provided them with his own false versions, continuing the correspondence until the relative was convinced of the truth of the false information imparted by the ninja. As a result, the ninja not only learned of the enemy's plans, but hopefully converted the relative into spying for him by creating dissension between the relative and the enemy lord.